I don't even know why we surprised. The nigga did a whole album with a space helmet on.
I mean, what you think about the new masculinity though? For real, the outfit. You ain't got nothing to say about the outfit.
It just reminds me of Goldilocks hair.
My whole thing is, Pharrell ain't never been masculine enough to be the definition of masculinity.
Okay, there you go.
That's
start the conversation.
That's my whole point.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining into the So What You Think podcast. Today we are talking about the pussification of masculinity.
Girlfriend.
And it's real.
All these honey childs out here.
Right. Now, and listen, and after all the videos I've watched this week, it is really...
It's a big deal.
Let
me start off saying this.
Because them old school players, boy, they still about their manhood.
What does that mean? What does masculinity even mean?
Well,
that's a good deep question.
Society kind of course, dictates our gender roles and how we're supposed to dress as a feminine dresser or a masculine dresser. And then we have now this metrosexual dressing and women dress boyish and that's supposed to be sexy.
So is masculinity defined by how you dress though? Is it a physical appearance or is it like
it's everything.
Your mannerisms, your of course your attire. But I hear a lot of men, nowadays they'll say, okay, bitch, which is a female kind of thing. Like
the go ahead.
That's real feminine. But who decided that was something that?
No.
I think they do it like when they make it fun. Like, go ahead, honey. Like jokingly.
I don't think it's jokingly sometimes.
Okay.
But right now I'm at a point right now where I'm extremely suspect of men.
And it's because the pussification of men, of masculinity. The scale. Now, of course, there are extreme examples of men doing things to try to prove their manhood. Okay. We ain't talking about that. So for all y'all people feeling like I might have to, me feeling like I gotta shoot you in the face instead of back down from a situation.
I'm gonna screw everything with a split tail because that's just how much I really love women.
So we're not talking about those extreme examples.
Not that. Not that. We're talking about
just general,
the subtle leaning towards. Men are subtly leaning towards being more feminine, and of course, in this day and time,
we'll say it's a spectrum. We'll say it's a spectrum. You have feminine, you have masculine. The spectrum slides. Men used to reside more here. They're sliding more towards the feminine side of the spectrum.
I'm gonna ask a question.
For all y'all, I was
looking at this ad because I read some of the ad in GQ, and one of the examples he used was how older generation didn't discuss emotions. They weren't emotion. They weren't compassion. It was like, yo, shut up, you can't cry. This is what a man's look like. And the newer age men are being open with, having conversations, being intimately involved, being more of a nurturer. So would you say that's more of like the pussification of masculinity, or do you?
No,
I would say yes.
I don't think that's at all.
And I'm saying this because you're not a person that
GQ, but I stopped because of stuff because I was like, this is not my thing anymore.
I would say
just took over.
Yes,
that's why this article. But you don't believe in labels, though, right?
No, I don't. That's why. Let me.
Okay, that's what I say. Okay.
I would say I agree. Yes, it is, but at the same time, two things could be true. It could be, yes, if you say this is the scale, we are going to have to take on some more feminine traits, but all those are not bad. Everything doesn't have to be negative.
Okay.
Some of those things, some of those changes are for the better.
Okay.
But some of them ain't. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think a lot of the old school because I grew up with my grandparents where it was children were to be seen, not heard. That was how I was raised when my grandparents were around. That was the thing, like, you don't go get in grown folks' conversation. If I tell you something that's not a conversation, you just do what the hell I tell you to do.
Right.
And then I saw and it was on The Real, Tyler Perry was talking about how he had to discipline his 5-year-old. And he said he got down to his level and he just had a conversation with him like, we don't do that. You will not do that. He wasn't soft with him, but he was just explaining to him like, this is not what we're going to do. He said, and it hit him at that moment that like nobody ever talked to him that way as a child to try to explain. So you're like, what we did was you can beat your ass, period. Yeah. That's it. And my grandma used to say, hit the dough. We had to go outside. That's what hit the dough meant. Like, get out and stay outside all day.
So let's just say we could take this broader. What it sounds like we're saying is society as a whole has gotten softer. So is that because men have gotten softer and because we're supposed to be the leaders?
Yes.
We have caused society to be softer?
I don't know.
Or
we have more
this is my
men.
theory. My theory is men got pussy whipped about 2-3 generations ago. Our daddies, like our generation, we let the men had it.
Yeah.
They let go. Because men really don't do whatever for women. Back in the day when it was okay to drag a woman by her hair as a caveman, that's what cavemen did. Then some cave woman said, you ain't got to drag my hair. Bring me a flower. Dude realized the dude with the flowers getting more coochie, then they start bringing flowers, food, rocks, all that.
That's what happened.
That's how it changed.
He is talking about the evolution
of masculinity. Listen, this
because flowers work better than dragging hair.
Men are gonna do whatever works. My whole point is beards were not in style 10 years ago. It wasn't getting men pussy. Now beards getting men pussy. Men got beards. If whatever it is, if it's cars, men gonna have cars. Whatever women say they into, men are gonna try to act like that. That's what I see. So I see in a few generations ago, women started saying, we want men to be more emotional. We want this and this. And y'all got what y'all wanted.
That didn't mean we wanted y'all wearing skinny jeans.
You got what you wanted.
Let me say
this.
Okay.
That's what I feel. Women said, women was like, I want to be equal. I want to. At one time, women worked. There was gender roles.
Okay.
Women said, I want to work. I want to be equal. Men used to didn't even come home and have to talk to their kids. I made sure you fed. Keep them kids away from me. I'm gonna come home, relax. Mamas be like, leave your daddy alone. Just let him, like, you just a burden that I'm paying for. Now men are expected to do that, have emotions and all that. And I'm not saying those are bad things.
Do you think that's the reason, or do you think that more men want to have relationships because they grew up without having relationships with their fathers, so they're being
I feel men are going to do whatever they think women want. That's what I feel. If women just keep protesting and saying we want tougher men, men going to be more aggressive.
So you think the pussification of masculinity is happening because men want to appease more to women just to get play?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
This is why I also feel why women don't want nice guys.
Crazy. I've never disagreed with Mack about anything.
Listen, this is how I feel. This is my theory. Every generation has gotten a little softer because women have gotten stronger. I'm not saying this is a bad thing,
I think
but they're evolving.
We were made to be. We had to be stronger because we had that empty space.
But I didn't talk about black women. I'm saying as a whole American culture, our culture changed. In about I wrote a paper when I wrote a paper about you can watch when I wrote a paper.
What you write?
When I was in college. I was in high school. I had to write a paper, and they told me to have a controversial subject.
Okay.
This was my controversial subject. I wrote, and the teacher had to grade it, and you just had to be able to have statistics and facts and plausible reasons. And you can chart from when women started leaving the house, going into the workforce.
It's after the Great Depression.
Crime. I'm like, this is like the 60s, not after the Great Depression. Right when women's liberation blew up. When women left the household and started working. Crime goes up. Pregnancy of teens go up. All the things, the factors that we check off, divorce rates rose. All the things that we check off and factor of what we consider a family structure, all those things went negative at the same time. It correlated with when women started working. And these are actual facts you can study. This ain't just my opinion.
So you're saying female liberation led to...
It changed what the roles were. So now you have 2 generations really of where men are expected to act the way they're expected. Like since probably like the late 60s. Before that, men weren't expected to act like we're expected now. It has changed within 30 to 40 years. That's why you see so many divorce rates. Shit is settling. People are trying to find their new roles. Women are now working new roles. You had a whole society that shifted like in 40 years.
So I would say, I would blame it on...
I just be acting like this, man. I read too.
Yeah, he's very intelligent, but I
He's
would blame it on the
super smart.
expectations. I would think the expectations and labels would be the issue.
Expectations and insecurities mess up all relationships.
But you didn't say that. You said.
Well, I can say
listen, because he was saying basically.
I understand what he's saying.
Okay, so you understand what he. Okay, so it took a minute. I'm like, okay, he keep talking. I'll get it.
Yeah, it takes some time. It took me a while to land the plane, but so you know.
I mean, because men do a lot for women. I mean, that's
I'm not saying any of this is negative, but I'm saying if we take a step back, we could see why you see so many problems. Our society has changed from what it was expected for probably 200, 300, 400 years to what we've changed to in the last 40 or 50 years. Whether you're talking racially, whether you're talking, that's why it's a change happening.
We've all, like, even when all the men went to war and the women were left in charge of the households, that was something that was out of our control as women. And then you have that influx of the government giving us assistance. And of course, I'm not just saying that as black women, because statistically more white women or white people are on public assistance than anyone else. It would be white people, black people, Mexicans, and Asians. That's the line that it takes. And if you notice, like with the Asian family, how they raise their household, it is strictly like a group effort. So whereas me as a single black woman, I'm raising my black boys by myself, so I would anticipate that my black boys come up with some feminine tendencies because this is what they know. I wasn't that mama, because I'm like, here, this is your mentor, this is your, listen, get this, because there's a lot of things I couldn't teach my sons how to do, and a lot of women don't.
Because they could have been extra pussified.
They could have been
solid.
It could have been the pussification of Tanya's babies, and this wasn't going down.
Nope.
It wasn't going down like that.
There's some suck it up's gonna happen around my house.
He don't feel like for real should be the one that should speak on masculinity. Who do you think should be the one that would be chosen that speaks?
I'm not saying this is what I would say. Like, I would say seeing Pharrell dressed like a girl after Pharrell been weird since he came out. First he was a nerd, then he was on some space stuff. This like he always done walked the line. So to me, for everybody to be like, what's going on with black people? Pharrell never represented strong enough. This would be heartbreaking if this was fucking James Earl Jones or Samuel L. Jackson or
Ice Cube.
Yeah, Ice Cube. Listen,
if Ice Cube was in the goddamn.
If Ice Cube was in their gold dress, I'd be heartbroken. I would be making long soliloquies and posts about how the destruction of black man is happening.
Of the black man.
I just walk in the room and sock my son just because. That's what would happen if this was Ice Cube. But when it's for real, I'm like, whatever. Yeah. But if it was Cube, I'll go sock my son and tell him, suck it up right now. I make him do push-ups, get off the game. I change everything.
Because all that is masculinity.
But for real.
You like,
yeah, that's for real.
So did you?
He always been weird.
Your boys, you was real firm.
Well, I was firm in my household, but I also I let positive men in there, like their football coaches now not every man could discipline my children, but they grew up with, their football coaches. They had mentors. They had those kind of men that I felt were going to feed into what I was trying to do with my son, like being a man's man or doing manly things. Like now to this day, like I'll be at Walmart pushing the cart myself, and my sons will run off and help an older lady do something. I'm like, yeah, I ain't gonna help your mama, but they had an affinity for my mom. They had an affinity for older people because the people that helped me raise them, the men in my family, like you never let an older person do this. You never let a senior citizen, an elder. That's how we were raised. Like that's how my kids are to this day. Like
respectful, good, solid men. That's it. And
that's kind of what my mom was. My mom
was
very, very because she just felt like you black boys. You black, first of all, you live in America, so we had fight. You lost a fight, you had to go out there fight again. You couldn't cry certain times. She was very, very just intentional about making sure we were very strong. She knew it was going to be a hard world to grow up in. So
I never stopped my boys from crying.
My mom wasn't.
One thing that I always wanted to stop from my upbringing to my kids is the communication thing. I definitely wanted to be able for my kids to communicate to me about anything. So if the way you want to communicate to me is that we're having a deep conversation and it gets you to tears, or you're crying and you're screaming, I need to sit back and I need to listen to what you're saying, because it's not just the words.
Right.
You have this emotion. Something in you is bringing out this passion.
So you were understanding parent.
And
that's how my mom was.
In regards to the article, that's
My
what
dad
they're
was a drill
saying is
sergeant.
the new masculinity. That's what they're saying. It's being okay to openly express how you feel and not feel like you have to be boxed in based on some type of traditional philosophy.
Now that I agree with. I'm all about breaking labels and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, honestly, I raised my son
Good job.
softer than I was raised. I've let him.
Why? Cause your wife?
No, she tough. Man, heck no. You know my wife?
But you just said. But
She
you just
all
said
about
it.
suck it up.
Okay.
She all about suck it up.
What
But
made you want to do that?
Well, I don't even know if it was conscious. I just look back. One, I had him later in life. I had him at 30, and I was probably harder on my daughter than I was him, and it probably just because I was just like, she was the first child, so we were just extra. Oh, you gotta do everything. We gotta make sure you know. Now we kind of
Yeah,
let
because I had older
stuff
parents.
slide on the.
I had
on
older
that
parents.
second one.
My mom was 35 and my dad was 45 when I was born. So a lot of things that they did with me, they're like, you know what, just go.
Right, that's what was
We
me.
tired.
And
Do you, boo boo?
by the time
Your first kid,
my
bubble
son,
wraps. Your second kid, you like.
I was teaching too.
You drop
So
a
I let the
pacifier,
kids
it's
different.
okay. Your third kid, you probably let them fall down the stairs. They be alright.
They're all right. Kids are tough, man. And I was teaching too. So I have been teaching. So after working in school for 10 years, you see things from kids' perspective differently. So
All right, so tell us what y'all think about the pussification of masculinity.
Yeah.
Is it a real thing?
you
Or-
soft.
Yeah. Is it okay to be a man and show emotions?
You
got
soft.
that.
Ridiculous.
It's all right.
Ridiculous.
God.
Is it okay to be in touch with your feminine side, and how in touch can you be with your feminine side, or is it?
Great
Do we want to go back to where men were men and
Hard,
women were hardcore
firm.
providers, and there was the gender roles were cut and dry?
It's balance. It's balance.
Do y'all think
But
we
some of
should
y'all tipping. That's it. Some of
We should
y'all
enter gender
tipping.
roles. Should we bring back gender roles?
I like gender roles. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I do.
Even people who say they don't do.
I like
People
gender
like lying to themselves, but that's a whole nother subject.
So make sure you check us out, subscribe
Like,
to the channel,
share,
hit the bell so you can get your notifications that when we
Yeah.
drop. We do this every Tuesday at 6-ish
Most
Yeah.
of the time.
most of the times.
We're gonna be coming with
Definitely
some more episodes for y'all. We've been busy, but we're gonna definitely be coming with some heat for y'all.
We are fixed to come. We're gonna go hard for y'all now.
So, oh yeah, I'm preach.
On T-Dot, we almost
I'm
forgot
Mack O. I was like, somebody's supposed
So
to
what
say
you
something.
think?
We out of here. We
outta
rusty.
here. Y'all
We
crazy.
rusty. Yeah, I was like, he's
Ridiculous.
supposed to say it.
Yeah, no, it's been a little bit. So
Yeah, we rusty.
It's because you was kicking it so hard last night.
Yeah, you got that slow blink. That blink tell you. That slow
That
blink tell you.
hangover.
I'm in there. I'm
You
good.
was masculine. You was beating on your chest
Actually,
with that
I was. I
vodka.
got Dougie a little bit.
Yeah, you Dougie?
You was Dougie?
In 2019?
Yeah, bro. Cause you know, Brosco was playing those early. You know what I'm saying? He played some Luther.
Hey, what your Dougie look like? Cause some niggas Dougies be kind of
played
shaky
some,
too.
just kind of.
Your Dougie better be manly. Cause Dougie fresh in here like a man. I seen some gay Dougies out there.